Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And we're here to take on the final normal battle of Heroes Jubilee 37, Normal Battle 3. Want you to use a water team, and they apparently want you to start with a really bad hand. 2 blues, 4 oranges. This is not ideal for almost anything. So good luck. There are not a lot of characters that orange orb convert because orange teams are just a dime and a dozen, really. So your options will be limited. There are a lot of water units, though. So, I mean, that is good. And you can get around this terrible starting hand. The max turn bonus is turn 5, but, you know, like most normal battles, his defense and all that stuff leaves turn 6. And so if you have trouble actually doing the damage cap, just nuke him on turn 6. You'll lose like 3,000 points. It's not that big of a fucking deal. But disclaimer number 1, your results may vary, especially with this stage. You know, not a lot of teams can, take advantage of a turn 1 like that. That's so horrible. So use what you've got. Use this video as an example, and then, modify it based on your own box. Disclaimer number 2 is these are the units I use for protection gauge, and these are the units I use for skill points. And then disclaimer number 3 is don't forget to go into your town and optimize your water building so you can hit as hard as possible with your water unit, whoever that may be. But with that said, let's get started. Alright, so starting off, we're going to be using technically Visions of Coleus team because Lumi does stack attack on Fantasy Milim, which is definitely going to help us out. We've also got Mirrored Dord. One of the brothers, I can never remember. What's his fucking name? Hold on. It's Dord. We are using Dord because he passively, from his trait, gives a 15% chance to dodge poison, which if you want to, get as high a score possible, you're also going to have to dodge poison in this stage too. But we don't have room to bring poison dodging Gobta because we need extra damage. So Visions of Coleus Rimuru will help us ensure that turn 1 we can actually do something with these stupid oranges. And then Blanc, Guy, and then the Tempest Leap Benimaru are here to help buff Fantasy Milim up. Who, for every skill that is used for the first 4 turns, she gets extra crit damage, so it is important to prioritize using as many skills as possible within the 4 turns. To get, the maximum score you want, you have to nuke on turn 5 with all of his defense abilities still up, which is not possible for a lot of people, so if you can't do the damage cap in 5 turns, just push to turn 6 and do it without having all of his defense up. And it's easy as that. But let's go ahead and jump in. Alright, so turn 1, the whole reason we brought Coleus Rimuru is that this hand sucks, right? Coleus Rimuru changes blues to rainbows, and if you do that, you can send a full 6 hand of orbs right here without having to bring a really, really bad converter. So this works out. It also gets a lot of alt gauge for Milim starting out, so it makes our life a little bit easier. We'll bring Benimaru in because he's got, I think, Lumi underneath him, so we'll get extra protection gauge. We got almost an alt for everybody. I think with the trait, we actually do get Milim's alt, or very, very close to it. But, the guard, no one has gear again except for Milim. We want her to be the hardest hitting, and we don't want the others to do too much damage here. Yeah, but there is her alt. We get a pretty good hand, right? We have Blanc. We can swap that alt away. We'll start stacking up with Lumi on Milim. And again, we need to use as many skills as possible, so having to use an orb change here before we switch out Blanc, we do want to use the alt swap though. So alt swap, boom, and then we'll bring Coleus Rimuru in for Blanc. We'll change those 2 greens into blues, and then we'll send him away for Guy probably because he's got turn 3 protection gauge. Even though I think we're going to be maxed out anyways. Maybe not. Okay, we just go ahead and send it. Interesting. All right. Probably because Guy is type disadvantage here, and I don't want to take more damage with him than necessary. But awesome. Here comes the poison, I believe. Yep, there we go. So it actually missed 2 of our characters, which is great. It only hit Rimuru, so that's very, very lucky. There's that poison dodge coming in. And now we'll use another stack of Lumi. Boom. And we actually are able to do a few things. So Benimaru can orb change there. Awesome. He's going to go away for Guy. Benimaru's orb change also has that very good 30% gauge increase versus everybody else's 10. And now we're going to use Milim's skill because it changes in the blue to green, and it gives us a perfect Guy orb change. So that's just another skill used. that will help us out on stacking crit damage for Milim. And then we'll swap somebody out. Swap Guy out. Cool. And then we'll use the... Ooh. Yeah, okay, we're just going to send this here. All right, cool. It is what it is. Not quite a lot of points here, 142. Is this enough to actually nuke here? Okay, no, it's only turn 3, so that's fine. We have a Pierce nerf on, which is fine because we're not piercing with this team. But now we get the EX alt with Milim. Now we can use the alt swap, the orb change, because it's going to give us a perfect hand of blues. And then we use one more stack of Lumi. And then we need to use the attack buff now for Milim and send her away, because otherwise we wouldn't have enough points on the nuke turn to actually use that skill. Well, would we? I'm used to bringing Found a Wizard of Rimuru with another 80-point skill. We actually might have enough points, that I think about it now. Let's find out, because I don't remember. But turn 5, here we are. We're ready to nuke. All right, Guy took that hit. Unfortunate. It is what it is. We've got 224 points. So if we were to bring 3 big-time characters, we actually wouldn't have enough to do that. But because Benimaru is half the cost, and actually better for single-target nuking than Fountain of Wisdom Rimuru, it makes it a little bit easier to do that. So 2 stacks of Lumi. We'll use the guaranteed crits and the alt damage or alt buff with Guy. We'll use the synergy and the weakness strike with Blanc. And then we'll bring Benimaru in. And actually, we wouldn't have had enough. Right? Look at that. We would have been 1 point shy. So there we go. That's why we use the buff early. We'll send the 1 orb. And then we do 1.4, which is the damage cap. So we're actually going to be higher than that, which is very, very good. So we're actually at 1.5 million. But we nuked on turn 5. Therefore, we got the max turn score. And the only way this is going to get better is if we take less damage, which I'm not concerned about it. But this team can certainly do the 1.4 million in 5 turns, even through the Centipede's extra defense, which is important. Again, if you can't do the 1.4 million with the defense up, go to turn 6, you'll lose a bit of turn score, but you'll actually make sure, or at least attempt to hit the weakness strike, the damage cap, and that will get you like a 68,000 score. Perfectly fine for people that don't really give a shit, right? But let's move on to some other teams. Alright, I have for you this very, very wonky Wielder of Magic team with Water Shinsha as our damage dealer. Now this team does a lot of damage very quickly, because we give ourselves guaranteed pierce on all magic characters. We have a lot of stuff going on, and we have oranges, which are not a very strong team to begin with. So this is a very wonky team. I really don't recommend people use it. You know, I'd rather use something else than this. I don't like this team very much. But, you know, it is what it is. Ranga, you know, if you have 2 Wielder of Magic characters, you can change any color of orb to orange. So we'll bring Shinsha in for violet. That will mean that these 2 blue orbs are Wielder of Magic. So we can use his skill, change an orange, get a good hand turn 1. We're going to send Shinsha first because she's going to do way too much damage, because now we have the extra 60% damage increase from Protector Milim. And that equals a lot. More than you would like to do here. So unfortunately, we don't get more Shinsha orbs, which you would technically want in this run. But we're going to rewind here, and we're going to bring Water Hinata in. We'll use the Milim, Protector Milim, because that's going to give us 40 skill points, just like what Frey does for normal battle 2. And now we can use a few different skills. Guaranteed hand to oranges. Skill point increase for oranges. Very important. You don't want to use the Shinsha buff for protection gauge, because it adds like 100% damage to these oranges, and that's not something that Centipede can handle. You will straight up just kill it on this turn, and that's not what you want to do. But unfortunately here, like, because we didn't have that 1 extra Shinsha orb, we can't use the Hinata buff and then send her away, which is really unfortunate, because we got this full hand of oranges again, and it'd be really cool if we could just use an element buff and then have the EX alt already to begin with, and it would have saved, you know, a lot of damage here. So now we got to play pretty carefully now, because yeah, he doesn't have a lot of HP. And there's the poison. Again, it doesn't really matter. We have EX alts for almost everybody, which I guess is cool. And the rewind from the future hand still kicked in, so we have guaranteed 3 oranges right here. Now we'll use the element buff on Shinsha, and now they're gonna go away. Shinsha definitely has to go away. and we're going to have to just kind of play around with what orbs we are sending to get to a point where we can use, a few of the buffs. So we're going to send these 2 because they don't have the buffs on. So 1, 2, and 3. Again, no one has attack gear except for Shinsha, because otherwise it would have died long ago. Turn 4 comes in. All right. Ranga no longer has those buffs, so he should be good, except he crits anyways. And here, now it's turn 5, and we could nuke, but I'm not very confident. So we're going to push and do one more attack. So now it's turn 6. We don't have max turn bonus anymore, but now all of his defense is gone. So we can reliably nuke a little bit harder, I guess, is how to put that. So we use the magic buff from Violet. We'll use Milim to give ourselves, again, the guaranteed pierce, which I think she still has anyways, doesn't really matter. And now we can use the EX alt buff and the attack buff from Shinsha. 57% attack, 50% EX alt damage, and then we'll go ahead and send her alt here, and we do just over 1 million on turn 6. So we neither hit the turn bonus, nor did we hit damage cap, but it is what it is. We did our best with what we had, and it's certainly a team you can use. They are featured on a number of banners lately, so it's possible you may have most of this team. Maybe not Hinata, because she's only been back on that terrible banner that I told people not to summon on, which I hopefully they didn't. But there is a team that can get it done, mostly. Alright, here's a funny team. We've got Adventurer, Konosuba collab, Rimuru Protector, again, Space Violet, Tempest Elite Shuna, Water Shion, Water Shuna, and Overlord Shizu. It's a very odd-looking team, but we do have, more importantly, 3 Tempest Elite characters, 2 Shunas, and the Shion. So if everything plays out right, we can actually use Tempest Elite Shuna's Orb Change pretty much the entire run and not worry about anything else. And to ensure we can do that, we've swapped out Dark Milim for Water Soe, so we have 36 points to start out with, and that will allow us to use that skill turn 1, and we'll just get out of that terrible RNG of that random orange shit, and it'll be all blue. So let me make sure this is what I need to be. Alright, there, never found it now. Okay, so turn 1, 42 skill points. I must have brought in someone else as well. Probably Space Milim. But now we have enough, so boom. Full hand of blues, awesome, because everyone is Tempest Elite. We'll bring Shizu in now, because she's got extra protection gauge, and that will make sure we can get as much as possible for Rimuru, and we'll go ahead and send it. We're not getting some extra damage increase here, so we're not really in danger of killing, but again, no one else has attack gear on except for Water Shuna, who is going to be our DPS. And because we started with enough points, and because of Water Shuna's trait, we can use a stack of Rimuru, and then we can just bring Tempest Elite Shuna back, and use her Orb Change again, and again, and again. And it really takes the RNG out of this. It makes it very, very easy. So now we'll bring Violet for her turn 3 protection gauge. We'll send this. Water Shuna is not an EX character, so we don't need an EX alt. This is great. This is going to be a turn 6 team, though. Not nuking on turn 5, because we're not going to do that much damage. There's the poison. Shion dodged it, which is great, and a cheeky counter. Not really what I want, but oh well. 2 stacks of Protector Rimuru, who stacks alt damage permanently. He's never going to come back, so if you don't have access to him, you could use Fount of Wisdom Diablo if you wanted, or you can just attempt to use the Water Milim Protector that came with the Shuna and Shion. I don't think you'll do nearly as much damage, but hey, it's still a stacking protector, right? Got another full hand of oranges from Tempest Elite Shuna. Awesome. We're getting very, very close to an alt for Water Shuna. And, I mean, this has been the most brain-dead run ever, right? Orb Change with Shuna. Over and over and over and over and over again, because we're going to continue to get more and more points, and it just makes it easier and easier. There's not much to talk about on this run. You just need to make sure that your front 3 units are all Tempest Elite, which is why we brought 2 of them, and they all work fairly well together too, so it's not like it's a bad team or anything. It actually runs very, very well. It's just a very odd, combination of characters. This is the alt for Shuna. We're coming up on turn 5. I'm, again, not confident that we can actually do damage cap on turn 5 with this team without an EX alt, so we're going to push to turn 6. And we got a very good hand right there. Awesome. So we can just use Water Shuna to orb change that after these 2 stacks of Rimuru, and we'll have plenty of points, right? We don't need that many to do it, but we're going to use the magic buff now because, points are a thing. And then we'll bring in... What are we bringing in? Hold on. All right, yeah, there we go. Shuna orb change first, and then we'll bring this Shuna in, and then it worked out very, very well. So there we go. We can do that. And then we can use Violet's orb change for the first time in the entire fight, get that 1 green changed. Full hand of blues means we'll have maximum points, and another stack of Rimuru, and now all of his defense is going to leave, and we'll nuke with Shuna on turn 6. And we're going to do quite a bit of damage. Actually, it surprised me how much damage we do with this team. So we already have the magic buff applied. We don't need to worry about that again. We'll use 1 more stack of Rimuru, and then we'll bring Water Shuna in for Violet, since she is no longer necessary up front. We'll use the Pierce buff. We'll use the Weakness Strike and Alt Resistance down from Shizu. So boom. And then Shizu comes out for Xion. And now we can use both of Xion's buffs and then Shuna's own buffs, right? Because there's 2 Shunas. So Pierce, Water Attack, Guaranteed Crit, and Magic Power, and Alt Damage. And there's a lot of buffs that came out of that turn. But Shuna does 1.6 million, which, is higher than damage cap. We wouldn't have done that if we nuked on turn 5, but hey, we did damage cap, turn 6, 68.3k, not that far off from like the 71,000 that other people are getting. Not that big of a deal. Most importantly, you hit damage cap with fairly weird units. You don't have Tempest Elite Shuna, you're going to have a little bit more RNG to play with, but you have, decent orb changing on this team. So there's a team number 3, and now let's go to the sad Hinata team. Alright, remember when I said you could use the Water Milim protector that came with the Xion and Shuna? Well, that was a epic foreshadowing, because that's what we're doing here. The Water meta. Let's send the Water 2.0 team. Milim, free-to-play Rimuru, Shuna, Xion, and Hinata all came out as 1 month's worth of units. And we're going to put Light Raphael on the team as well, because he will help, honestly. And he's, been given away essentially for free multiple times now at this point, and he will be free sometime within the next 5 months for logging in, just for literally just for logging in. I don't know when, but one of the months. But I mean, it's still a stacking team. Now we're nuking with Hinata, who is skill fused. Not that big of a deal if she's not, honestly, because you get an extra 10% alt damage on your stack. It's still total 60. We only use it once. Not a big deal. Alright, but what is a big deal is turn 1, because we can't change this now. So we're just going to go ahead and send the oranges, get them out of the way, and then pray that turn 2 we can get a fairly decent hand. Hinata will be our nuker. Again, not an EX character, don't need that much gauge for her. We get an okay hand. It's not super great, but also because we don't need an EX ult, we can just send her away here and not feel too bad about it. So we bring Water Rimuru in, going to convert those, and then use Water Shuna, get a full hand of blues, and then we'll hopefully be set up for turn 2 more than anything. We'll also bring Raphael in because he has a turn 3 protection gauge trait. 2 stacks of Milim, so that's 20% extra water attack on Hinata. This team, obviously, is not going to do damage cap. It's a turn 6 team. I wouldn't worry too much about it. If you have to do this team, then you're already resigning yourself to not being super uber duper great. Also, this hand is not super duper uber great. So I think we just send the 5 greens and call it a day. And we'll just bring Hinata in, we'll get the 2 stacks with Milim, and then we'll just have to play it off, right? Because, I mean, we'll get a decent amount of gauge for her off these greens, and so that's a plus. And we don't have that many skills that take a lot of points, so it's fairly easy to nuke with this team. We've used her first stack of her alt buff. Technically, she needs to use it 4 times to get it capped out. I don't think I use it again. It's 15% alt when she's skill fused, or it's 5% if not. It's not a big deal. We get a good hand here though, so 2-2-2 spread. We can bring Water Rimuru in. We got 3 Hinata orbs, so that's looking very nice. This should get her alt this turn. So we'll go ahead and send it. We'll bring Shion in for Rimuru, keep him in the back again for keep his orb changing up as high as possible. Almost 2 stacks of Milim, not quite. No one gives protection gauge on turn 5, so it's not that big of a deal. And we're also not ready to nuke anyways on turn 5. But here, we're looking pretty good. 168 points, we can use 1 more stack of Milim. A full hand of blues will get us 2 more for the nuke turn on 6. So here, we'll use the Hinata attack buff and the second stack of Hinata's alt buffs. Now we're up to 30% extra on top of the 70 that Shuna is going to be doing, so 100%. Bring Water Rimuru in, use his orb change. That's all we need to do. 63 points left over. Go ahead and send it. We don't need to use any of the other skills in advance because we have more than enough. Just got to remember that you're not using both of Raphael's skills. You're only using one. So don't make the mistake, because I almost do that here. So now we can bring you in for Rimuru. Boom. So we'll use 1, 2, 3 buffs right there. And then we'll bring Raphael in. And we only have enough for literally one of his skills. You just got to make sure you choose the right one, which is the Pierce and Alt Resistance. That one. There you go. And then we'll use the double stack Milim. That's another 20%. So I think we're up to like 60 or 70%. Maybe 60% water attack, which isn't a lot in today's meta. But, it is what it is. And all his defense is gone. And we do 640k. Not great. We also didn't pierce, because we have that debuff on. So even though we applied a pierce rate with Raphael, we didn't actually get it. So our damage technically should have been higher, but we just got a little bit unlucky. But that's, for you to RNG yourself to it. But there is the sad Hinata team and the 4 teams that you can potentially use to clear normal Battle 3. So let me know if this video helped you out, but that's it for me, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.